Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is Chatter Out Loud, a podcast where I share thoughts and TV commentary on shows I like to watch. Now, before I start, I want to ask that you go ahead and like, follow, share, and subscribe. And on YouTube, where I upload my companion episode of my podcast, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This way you can get a notification every time I post a new episode and you won't miss out. So welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Your presence is very much appreciated. If you've arrived here through my love of the game of Big Brother and we share another common interest in Hallmark movies, that's great. I'm back with another Hallmark movie review. I'm still covering my other content on Big Brother and the Endgame series on NBC, so look out for that. But in the meantime, sit back and take a listen to my review on the most recent Hallmark movie that aired last night, titled Love Classified. Love Classified is the fourth movie as part of the Spring Into Love series on the Hallmark Channel. I've covered 3 of the 4 movies in the Spring Into Love series. I plan to cover the one last week titled A Royal Runaway Romance. It's on my DVR and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but that's coming. So for now, I want to chat about Love Classified, and I'll start with the synopsis. And it's as follows. Romance novelist Amelia returns home after a long absence to reconnect with her children, who also are finding their own paths to love. The movie stars Melora Hardin, who plays Amelia, Ariane Mandy, who plays Frankie, Catherine McNamara, who plays Taylor, and Max Lloyd Jones, who plays Zach. I apologize if I didn't pronounce their names correctly. All right, I was looking forward to live tweeting while I watched this movie, and during the show, I realized I wasn't tweeting as much as I normally would when watching a Hallmark movie. And in preparation for this review, I was trying to figure out why that was. The movie is more progressive than what we traditionally see on the Hallmark Channel. But over the past couple of years, we've seen changes where Hallmark has evolved into sharing content that is inclusive. The evolution of seeing more Black people or people of color, especially in leading roles, that especially speaks to me as a Black woman. I'm a fan of Hallmark Channel, and as a viewer, why wouldn't my viewership be as important as anyone else's? Right? Black people fall in love too. We have our happily ever after too. So it's nice to see that in a movie. And a more recent example of a movie that showed that to us fans was the movie A Second Chance at Love. I love that movie. So we see interracial marriages, relationships, we see divorcees, we see people not yet divorced engaging in relationships, and it's complicated, right? Remember Just One Kiss? And speaking of Just One Kiss, we saw a Hallmark musical. Well, somewhat a musical. It was a storyline that had music in it. It wasn't really a musical. And with Love Classified, we see a young woman discover love, and it happened to be with another woman. All of these elements are in our society today, and in my opinion, I feel that representation matters. I feel that representation matters, and I like seeing the Hallmark's evolution. Now, with that being said, one of my other thoughts I had with this movie, Love Classified, was I'm having a hard time following. So I opted to focus more on watching the movie than tweeting about it. There was so much going on in this 2-hour movie. Well, really less than that with commercials, right? And by the way, it may be me, but I felt like there were more commercials. I could be wrong, and most likely I'm probably wrong about that. But it seemed like with the other shows, maybe they delayed the commercials. I don't know, but it just felt like there were more commercials for this movie, or, weaved into this movie. And I don't know, that's what I felt. All right. Next, I tried to summarize the plot of the movie. And as I read the synopsis, in summary, Amelia returns home after a long absence to reconnect with her children, who are finding their own paths to love. And in the end, I did see that, especially when Amelia did her book reading. And I'll talk about that a little later on. Um, but that, I didn't come to that, and not without going through a lot of what was going on in this movie, which I think could be called subplots. I hear other people. I'm not an official film reviewer or anything like that. I just have my own opinions, my own thoughts. But there were a lot of storylines going through this whole movie, subplots, right? And what do I mean by that? All right, first we had the family conflict, right? The dad passed away, and Amelia, Taylor, and Zach are the siblings. Amelia is the mom, right? They all grieved the dad's passing very differently, and there's resentment there. So we see that family conflict. Then we see the mother and daughter relationship between Amelia and Taylor, right? There are complications there. It stems from the dad passing away, yes, but nevertheless, we have that mother-daughter dynamic there. So that's another thing. Then we see the mother and the son relationship, Amelia and Zach, and how Zach feels like he's always in the middle of his mom and his sister's conflict, right? So we have that. Then we move into, that's just the family conflict. Another storyline or subplot were the relationships in love, right? We have Taylor and Frankie. We have Zach looking for love and winds up finding it with someone else, someone close all along, right? We have Amelia on the Love Classified app trying to find love, and we're all surprised when she was catfished. That was funny. And we can't forget the best friend, Max, right? Frankie's best friend. We presume that he was going to be set up with Amelia's editor. That's later on in my review. I'll talk about that as well. So, but my point in saying that's another plot to the movie or subplot. Now we have another subplot, right? And I'm hoping I'm using that term properly. If not, then insert storyline. So another storyline was the developing love story between Taylor and Frankie. That was its own storyline. And I thought that moved a little fast for me. And part of it was a little predictable, specifically when we learned that Frankie was a medical doctor and how that tied into Amelia, right? That was a little predictable. Which brings me to another plot in the movie where we learn Amelia's secret, right? She had a secret in the movie. They tried to convince the viewers she was taking vitamins, but we knew better. That was a little predictable, right? And then we had Zach finding love. They didn't really dedicate a lot of time to that, to developing that specific storyline, but we got it, right? But there was a lot going on in the movie. So it was a lot to follow. So I couldn't live tweet like I normally do because I was trying to pay attention and understand all of these storylines, and watching each of them develop and how they thread through or overlap with the other storylines. It was a lot for this 2-hour movie. All right, now the supporting actors that run throughout these subplots are our resident. We have our resident Gen Zer, Hannah. That's what I'm calling her. Our resident Gen Zer in the movie. I like this character because she was there to help Taylor with the reality of dating. But more so for the audience, she represented thoughts from this generation, right? They are more progressive than other generations. Diversity is a norm for Gen Zers. They are digital and social media savvy. And we saw that play out with how Hannah helped Taylor, not only with dating, right? And giving her wisdom and advice there, but she also helped with helping Taylor scale her business by stepping more into the digital marketing, social media angle, right? And I appreciated that. So I liked Hannah. And I think I need to say that, because I made a reference to Gen Zers being more progressive, excuse me. This isn't to say like other generations are not capable of being progressive or being diverse. It's not that at all. I'm just a parent of a Gen Zer, and Hannah looked very familiar to what I see, right? In my daughter's circle of friends. And there's just their mindset altogether. I see it. It's very different. what else do I want to say? Yeah, so I liked and appreciated Hannah. I chuckled when she told Taylor that getting ghosted by a woman has got to be so much harder. I thought that just made me laugh. I didn't fully engage in the Brian Thompson character. I guess he was meant to be there with the potential of them meaning him, Brian and Amelia rekindling whatever they had in college. I didn't follow that much at all, but they didn't put too much time in it. And I mean, there was so much going on in the movie. They probably could have left that out. I mean, that really didn't do much for me in terms of the overarching storyline. Because we had a second chance at love movie with a dating app element in the movie, I thought it would be similar in this movie, Love Classified, meaning I thought they would put a lot of emphasis on the dating app. But to my surprise, it really wasn't a focal point. Or maybe it was because it brought two of the main characters together, and it was mentioned in the end when Amelia was open. And she talked about being open, and her comments were open on the app. I didn't really understand that either, but I guess that's okay. But the app itself wasn't all that much emphasized in the movie, like in this A Second Chance at Love, right? I just bring that up because, like many other viewers, I was a little concerned that we had another dating app type movie, and I'm like, oh boy, can we change the storylines a little bit? But this was a completely different story. And there's no comparison other than that each of those movies, A Second Chance at Love and Love Classified, each had a dating app referenced in it, but it's completely two different stories, right? So I appreciated that. I keep saying, I'm just reading through my notes. Again, there was so much going on in the movie. Like, we forgot about the app, right? Until the end of the movie when Amelia comments. She kept saying her comments were open. I still don't know what that means. But I've been married for a long time. And when I was single, we didn't have dating apps. And if we did, we didn't use them. So it just makes sense that I may not get the dating app reference in terms of comments are open. So if you're on a dating app, you happen to be listening to me and you have experienced a dating app, help me understand what it means when Amelia said, my comments are open on the app. Does that mean like they're open to date, or they're looking for a date? Or I don't know what that means, but I just found it, I don't know, I'm just focusing on her saying my comments are open. And I'm like, what does that mean? Does that mean you're available to... I don't know what that means, so help me understand, please and thank you. Okay. I felt Margot, that character, was a little uptight in the movie. I didn't really gel with that character either. I guess I liked that there was a potential there for her and Zach. I don't know, but I didn't really gel. That character didn't do it for me. But I did like Zach. He was the type of brother we love, right? When he told Amelia, I don't care if you date a woman or a man or both, as long as whoever it is good to you. Oh, that was such a good line. He said something to that effect, but it was such a good line. It moved me. I liked it. It was touching. We felt that emotion. It was just a really good scene. So I liked that. I also liked... I related to the line where Amelia told Zach that she didn't want to give him feedback, right? As a mom, she was telling her son, I'm hesitant in giving you feedback about your artistry or whatever, because sometimes as moms, our feedback could be considered criticism. And that was very relatable, right? I have a mom, I have a daughter. So in both aspects, in my view is with my mom, things come from love. And I didn't know that until I became a mom. And now I see that in terms of how I parent my daughter, right? And so that was a relatable moment. So I like that. And at the end of the movie, I found that Amelia, at her book reading, She really captured the entire movie. That character captured the entire movie in her speech before she started her book reading, right? And I felt that the writers of this movie did that intentionally to help us as a viewer pull it all together, because there was so much going on in this movie, and there were so many moving pieces. But anyway, these are the things that helped me put it all together in terms of Amelia, that character, and what she said during her, or right before or at her book reading event, right? She says, "We should pay tribute to the complicated love stories around us. They are not all flawless. They are not all romantic. They are not all expected." And she said, "You don't have to teleport people to other countries to find those love stories. Sometimes they are just around the corner." And I felt like that did justice in terms of trying to capture the overarching point in the movie, right? And a few observations right before I go. I wanted to call out the mural in the movie was beautiful. I just wanted to say that out loud. And okay, how about Paul Campbell and his cameo in the movie, right? I remember, if you're a fan of the Hallmark channel, we know that we've seen Paul Campbell in Wedding Every Weekend, A Godwink Christmas, The Santa Stakeout, and that was with Tamara Mowry Housley. That was a silly movie, but I really enjoyed it because I just like Tamara. But yeah, so we saw Paul Campbell. He made a cameo appearance, right? And finally, I had to suspend disbelief. That's the term, and apparently I used it incorrectly in my previous Hallmark movie review. So I'm making correction. I had to suspend my disbelief when Frankie thought that Amelia's editor is her best friend's Max's type, when all we heard the editor say was, "Is this Amelia Bloom's house?" And I'm like, from those words, did Frankie pick up that that's Max's type? Is this Amelia Bloom's house? Like, what? But it went, I just went with it, right? Because that meant that Max could potentially have his happily ever after too, right? Anyway, Love Classified, one of the new Hallmark movies in the Spring Into Love series. Did you see the movie? What did you think? You have to let me know what you think in a comment below. I appreciate that. We have one more movie in the Spring Into Love series, A Tale of Love. I plan to watch that and review that movie as well. And I do have the other one, the Royal Romance thing. What was the name of that? Let me go back. It's on my DVR. A Royal Runaway Romance. That's one I have to review as well, because I wanted to do all 5 movies. All right, and that's all I have. So be sure to come back and give me a listen. I'd love for you to like, share, follow, and subscribe, and consider leaving me a comment. I'd love to engage with you. Okay, my name is Danielle, and you're listening to my podcast, Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, I appreciate your support. And that's all I have. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.